Hey everyone, it's Audrey from Audrey and Health. I'm your functional nutritional therapy practitioner, your holistic good mood expert, and I'm here to help you overcome your bad mood and your anxiety so that you can do all of the things that you know that you're meant for, so you can move on with your life. Because I know you've got big dreams. I know you've got this vision for your life, but that anxiety and those mood issues that you're having are just keeping you from starting that journey. So that's what I'm here to do. So I use a mind-body approach. I think that how we treat the physical body is just as important as how we treat the mental, emotional, and spiritual body. And so you're going to hear me talk about all of those things. Now, I've got a ton of new content coming your way on the subject. So if holistic mood support sounds like something that you need more of in your life, do me a favor and click that subscribe button and hit that little bell. I'm not sure which direction it's in, so that you can make sure that you get notified every time I release something new. So today's video is a really important one that I think it's about going back to the basics, because I need these. Even as a nutritionist myself, there are times when I have totally come off the rails and I need to remind myself of the simplest things like chewing my food, like drinking enough water and getting more sleep and getting outside, those types of tips. So those are the kind of tips that I'm sharing with you today. All right, so I've got 9 of them and I'm gonna dive right in. The most important thing that you can start to do, not the most, but one of the most important things you can start to do if you have anxiety is to eat regularly every 2 to 4 hours. Now, this is really important because of your blood sugar regulation. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of why that's related to anxiety in this video, but I just want you to trust me on it and know that it's important that you keep your blood sugar as stable as possible. So never, please go more than 5 hours without putting something in your body. Again, if you're really anxious, this is not a time for you to start intermittent fasting. We can get into more of that later. No more than 5 hours between meals. And if you're not hungry after 5 hours of not eating, you either probably ate a little too much in your previous meal, or maybe you need to get some more movement into your life. I'm guessing it was probably the latter, or some combination of both of them, but you should be eating at least a little bit of something every 2 to 4 hours. So, number 2, I want you to eat organic, locally sourced, pasture-raised, and grass-fed protein wherever possible. Now, this is not about me trying to get you to spend more money on your groceries. There's a reason why sourcing good quality food is really important for you, just in your overall health, but also for your mood. Now, I want to talk about something really briefly. It's called the spectrum of quality. And that means that not all foods are created equal. Unfortunately, industrial raised meat and conventionally raised produce are not the same biochemical foods. They don't have the same nutritional makeup as do the best quality that you can find. Locally sourced, locally farmed, organic, pasture raised, grass fed, all of those things you should be looking for when you're buying. And yes, you should be willing to make the investment. Find something else to cut out in your budget, because these foods actually have a higher nutritional content and different. You've heard a lot of people talk about omega-3s and inflammatory foods versus anti-inflammatory. Don't worry about that right now. We're going to get to all of that, but I just want to give you one example. Ground beef, conventionally raised and organically pasture raised or grass-fed, have different omega-3 or different lipid profiles. So the grass-fed beef actually has more omega-3s in it, which is actually more of an anti-inflammatory molecule. It's an more anti-inflammatory fat. So we'll get into all of that. I just want to give you that understanding. Also, when produce is organically raised and locally sourced, the chances are that the soil that it grows out of is less minerally deplete. So that means the food that comes out of it has more vitamins, more minerals in it. So something to keep important. Really important for you to up the standard of your food at home, okay? And number 3, this kind of ties into number 1. I never want you to skip meals, not at this stage, okay? It's not good for you to put your body under that blood sugar pressure. And we'll get into the details of that later, as I mentioned. It's going to destroy your good mood stability over time. Now, if you're in a really healthy state, you got a really solid mood, and you want to play around with some intermittent fasting, and you're doing that with supervision, or maybe you're a health professional yourself, go for it. I think intermittent fasting can be great. But from you, my dears, that have a bit of anxiety to overcome, now is not the time, because putting your body in a long period without food, it actually puts your body into a stressed state. And what that does is effectively continually or increases the dysregulation of your blood sugar, which is going to contribute to anxious feelings and nervousness. Okay, you know that feeling of being hangry? I know we all do. When you haven't eaten enough, you've gone too long without eating, and all of a sudden you're just like, you're starting to panic. And I don't know, some of you might even be able to feel the anxiety come on. That is what we don't want right now for you. It's not the time, okay? Number 4, I want you to eat breakfast every day. Again, your mood will fluctuate throughout the day if not. Now, something that goes along with this is that I don't want you to just wake up, have a sip of water or no water at all, and go straight to caffeine. Also, caffeine is something that I want you to limit right now if you can. Now, if you're super addicted to coffee and you can't go without it, try having maybe one less in the afternoon, or at the very least mixing 1 or 2 of your coffees with half caffeine, half decaf, things like that. There's so many coffee alternatives these days. Feel free to explore some of those. So if you, but regardless, even if you're not willing to give up your coffee, do me a favor, do not have your coffee in the morning without having a meal with it. Again, that's about regulating your blood sugar. When we spike ourselves with caffeine with no food in our system, our blood sugar just goes up through the roof, and it's like a 5-alarm fire for your body. We don't want that, okay? Something else we need to do is we need to be drinking more water. And I know these habits are really simple, but most of us probably don't do them effectively. So stick with me. I want you to drink half of your body weight in ounces of water. So however much you weigh, let's say you weigh 200 pounds, half your body weight in ounces would be 100 ounces. And then I want you to calculate the number of diuretics you drink on a daily basis. So that's coffees, teas, sodas, juices, anything of the like. Calculate how many ounces you drink on a typical day, and then times that number. So let's say it's 10 ounces a day, times that by 1.5. So that's 15 ounces. So you would take your first number, 100 ounces plus 15, 115 ounces. And that's how much water you need to be drinking on a regular basis to remain hydrated. And I don't really want you guys going over a gallon of water a day. That's a separate subject. If you're drinking that many diuretics that it's throwing you over there, try to pull back on the diuretics. And something else you can do to remain hydrated is sprinkle some natural Himalayan or pink or sea salt, some natural salt, just a little bit in your water, not so much that it tastes salty, enough just to help you bring some of those electrolytes back in. Okay, something else that I want you to do. Now, I understand how there's this big movement of veganism and of I don't need to eat animal proteins, that's fine. I won't go into why I believe animal proteins are a really crucial part of a healthy diet. All I want you to know today is that, remember that spectrum of quality that I talked to you about. Now, if you're getting good quality meat, it's a different story. I agree with the conventional factory farm meat. No one should be eating that. So we agree on that subject. But you need 20 to 30 grams of protein in your diet on a regular basis. So 2 to 3 times a day to maintain a healthy mood. Why is that? Because protein has, when you break down proteins, you get to these fundamental molecules called amino acids. And amino acids are the building blocks for your neurotransmitters. And your neurotransmitters regulate your mood. We're not going to get too nerdy yet. Just know that protein equals neurotransmitters in the brain. So you've heard people talk about serotonin, you've heard people talk about dopamine, you've heard people talk about GABA, all the catecholamines, all of the neurotransmitters in your brain require amino acids present as the building blocks to make them. So if you don't have amino acids in your body as good, complete sources of protein, you're going to struggle to make all of those neurotransmitters that you eat. So make sure you're getting protein into your diet, okay? And something else that I want you to do is start to think about combining protein, fat, and carbs where you can. I would love it if, this is my number 8 tip, actually I'm skipping ahead, try to avoid eating carbohydrates just straight, if you can. Like, trust me, there are some times when I go to town on some French fries. Those are my thing. So it happens sometimes, but I want you to ingrain these as simple rules to come back to the basics. Not great to eat carbohydrates on their own. And the reason is because they spike your blood sugar. And remember, we're trying to stay away from that. We're trying to keep our blood sugar stable. When you combine the 3 macronutrients, which are protein, fat, and carbs, your blood sugar is the most stabilized for the longest period of time. Each of those macronutrients offer different periods of support for your blood sugar, I'll say. Carbohydrates bring energy the quickest. Fat and protein take longer to digest, and they offer a longer burning source of energy. So that's going to keep your blood sugar stable. And, I guess I already mentioned number 9 ahead, which is that remember, everything has a spectrum of quality. A poor quality version of a food cannot be compared to a high quality version. And that's on like an actual, what are the nutrients in that food level. So it's not just like, oh, it's nicer that this was organic and they're charging me more for it. It's actually a different food. And conventional industrial raised meats and produce are covered in a lot of harmful things that you don't want in your body if you want to lead a healthy, happy lifestyle. Okay? Everything that you put in your body contributes to a good mood. When your body's happy, you're happy. Makes a lot of sense, right? So start to think of some of these simple behaviors. Hopefully you can pick 1 or 2. Don't overwhelm yourself. Pick whatever feels easy. And I just want to remind you of one thing. Please, if you're a big coffee drinker, please, please, please promise Audrey that you're not going to wake up first thing and load yourself up on coffee on an empty stomach. If you can't give up your coffee yet, or if you're not even willing to wean down on your coffee, please, please, please include some breakfast foods, some protein, fat, and carbs, some avocados, some eggs, some whole grain or gluten-free toast if that's your thing, something really whole foods based. Lots of veggies are great. I love to do scrambles in the mornings with peppers and onions and using my good fats like coconut oil and ghee or olive oil, lots of salt and pepper, lots of seasonings if you like them. And even if it's a small amount, it's really important that you get something in your stomach in the morning before you start loading up on caffeine. So those are my 9, we'll call them 10 tips to, it's 9 with a bonus tip, which are my general good mood nutritional guidelines. And keep them in mind. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to help you and to support you. I have been where you have been, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I've been there, and I spent the better part of a decade, maybe even my entire life, because I think I was a pretty anxious child, trying to figure out what the pieces were to a good mood. Because let's be honest, when you have a good mood, everything is magical in your life. It doesn't matter how much money you have or what relationship you do or you don't have or what your job is like. Everything becomes magical when you have a good mood. So that's what my mission is. Reach out with questions. I am here for you. I'm your holistic mood expert, your functional nutritional therapy practitioner, and we're going to get you through this. All right? So reach out with questions. I'll talk to you later. Love you guys.